Happy Wednesday! It's the Prop Queen Ariel Epstein taking you to 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Prop Queen Pod. My camera's a little dirty. Day 2 at the parents' house. Had a great birthday yesterday. Did not wake up hungover. That is a big success win. Today on the show, we are going to have my good friend Tom Vecchio joining, and he's going to break down the MLB card for today. And we're going to talk a little bit of Thursday night football. We've got some football ahead coming up this weekend. So we'll talk about some potential look-ahead spots with Tom. Also, my good friend Gilles Gallant coming over from the Action Network. So we'll talk a lot of anytime touchdown props. So if you guys have any questions about anytime touchdowns, Gallant is your guy. And I hope I'm saying his name right. I was on shows with him a lot of years ago, and he's the one that said his name. I was a guest. So I'm going to ask him for a perfect pronunciation at 5:30. My birthday dinner was fantastic. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to put in this show. I'm going to send it to myself right now. We played Pin the Tail on the Donkey. It was so funny. And I'm going to put the video in the chat. I think I have to end it early, the video. I think I do something silly. But I'm going to add it in. So we'll talk about what I did last night, I guess. We had like a little bit of baseball on, and I'll get to a recap of those baseball props because they did pretty good. Oh, I have to upload a video. So to start the show, I'm no showing Sunday? No. On last call, I'm no showing because I'm visiting my brother at college this weekend, and we will be traveling. So there's actually going to be no show tomorrow because I'm traveling to North Carolina to see my brother. And then Sunday, we're traveling back. So I just am not able to do shows Thursday and Sunday because of travel. What did Kelly say? You're just starting shit. Kelly knows where I'm going. But yeah, the dinner was great. We had steak. We had broccoli. We had salad. My mom made like a loaded mashed potato where she a loaded baked potato where she put mashed potato in a baked potato. It was freaking good. And then we got a cookie cake. Still have some downstairs. Delicious. And the best part was that we played Pin the Tail on the Donkey. Like,
birthday. All right, birthday girl. You better pin that tail on that ass.
Where's my sticker?
Come on, I need glasses, Alice.
Special. I have to grip it right.
No cheating.
No cheating.
No cheating. Spin around. 1, 2. Oh, wait. 2. Oh, wait. Hold on.
Are you ready?
Here, and then you get that. You get strobe light effect.
Go ahead.
You get the strobe light effect.
Go ahead.
Everyone else got fun to do
Come
that.
on. Oh, yeah, you're close.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Find somebody.
I was so close.
Woo.
I was so close. Like, guys, I did a great job. Great job. I haven't played that game in a long time. I know. It was so much fun, though, guys. It was so fun. Like, after about 4 glasses of wine, that game is a ton of fun. You can make it a little raunchy if you want. It doesn't have to be a donkey. It could be any picture. You could pin anything you want on anybody. Just saying. Okay, let's get to sports. Well, I actually didn't even talk about what happened last night. Last night, by the way, pretty good. We end up hitting the best bet. Ryan Pepiot ends up going under his 4.5 strikeouts. Let me get the rest of the card up. Image. Yesterday's show. Yesterday's pitcher props. Caden Dana also went under his outs. Ryan Pepiot went under his 4.5 strikeouts. And I don't know about Cade Horton, actually. I have to look it up. Anyone know what happened to Cade Horton? I was knee-deep into wine last night, so I wasn't really paying attention to Cade Horton. Practice Pin the Tail on the Donkey. I should see what Tom Vecchio thinks of that. Cade Horton yesterday went 6 strikeouts, so we went over. Hell yeah! Swept the board yesterday for my birthday. Hell yeah. And guess what? We already gave out 2 losers this afternoon. So regression is real. We love it. But it's okay because tonight we've got a very good We've got a very good strikeout prop tonight. Mid-major Matt and I both agree on it. But we swept the board yesterday. If you followed those pitcher props. I've got a few lopsided sides in the NFL before we get to Tom Vecchio. So far, according to Ben Fox, these are the week 3 most lopsided NFL games by total ticket number at DraftKings. 87% of bets are on them boys. 80% of Colts tickets at -3.5, 79% on Falcons -5.5, 79% of tickets on the Bills tomorrow night. Can't believe that many people are laying -12.5. 79% on the Chargers at -2.5, 74% on the Chiefs, 70% on Go Pack Go. It is 5:10 p.m. here on this beautiful Wednesday. So let's bring on our great friend, Mr. Tom Vecchio. Hi, Tom.
How are you? It's good to be here. We have, a great time in the sports calendar coming down to the end of the baseball season. Playoffs starting in 2 weeks or so, knee deep in football season. I'm ready to go.
I am so ready to go. I'm going to tweet out now that you are on the show. And we're going to talk Major League Baseball and NFL props. So Let's dive into it because first I have these lopsided NFL sides going into week 3.
Right.
Any of these fade the public moments for you?
I'm not a believer in Daniel Jones and the Colts. So, that's just me overall. I think the team around him is good enough, but I just don't believe in him overall. So, I could see myself being on the other side. The Cowboys, I think that's fine when it's all said and done. Let me just bring up the full schedule. The Falcons one is interesting because this is like a spot where if they can't win and comfortably cover this number, like there's no real reason to back them, to win the division, to win, X amount of games. It would be a really tough spot for them. The Bills, I actually don't mind the 12.5. I just think the Dolphins are dead as a team. So I'm largely okay with these.
Okay, largely okay with the public side. What are we saying in the chat? What is happening, Joseph Rodriguez? What are we talking about? I don't know what it. You guys distract me all the time. Sean Michael wants to know your thoughts on the Lions and Ravens game.
There's no real reason why we shouldn't see points in that. I know the Ravens started off slow, and if you told me, they scored 41 points and Derrick Henry wasn't involved in the offense and just had a terrible game, I would be, downright shocked by it. But, the Lions playing in good weather is always important. But Goff has historically really struggled away from home, even dating back to when he was with the Rams. If he struggles in cold weather, he struggles outside. And since he has gone to Detroit, he struggles with, not being at home in a dome. So, to say that we should get a decent amount of points is good, but I do think the line is a touch too high when it's all said and done. And if there's early scoring, we'd have to be interested in an under at some point. Like 53 points is just way too many.
AOD wants to know how many points you think the Cowboys defense is going to give up a week on average.
Yeah, I would say that, 20 some odd points is reasonable depending on the opponent, but like a 17 to 24 type of, outcome I think is reasonable. And their offense is good. And that's why I said at the beginning of the season, like after they traded away Micah Parsons, we spoke about like Dak passing attempts. So if the Cowboys give up 17 points, 20 points, 24 points, they should be able to score 24, 27, 28, whatever it might be, and really put games towards the over. As we saw, like if Russell Wilson and that 0-2 team can go up and put up 30-plus points, any other competent offense could do so against the Cowboys.
I was laughing earlier today because I love when you just post a random, or when people do this in general, but coming from you, it's kind of funny, just posting a random thought.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you follow it up with stats in the next tweet. You initially tweet earlier this afternoon. Wait, hold on. Producer problems. Mike Evans is going to score a touchdown this weekend. Of course, then there's the follow-up tweet afterwards where you give all the stats and the analytics. Everyone, Tom_Vecchio1 is where you could find his tweets. Why are you so confident in Mike Evans?
So, first off, that line has disappeared because I tweeted that at like 30 or so minutes before Schefter tweeted that Fields was ruled out. So those lines are gone. I expect them to be up, and the number won't be the same. So I will be looking at once that changes. But, in week 1, he didn't score. And then going into week 2 on Monday night, like I knew it was a tough matchup. But I spoke about Derek Stingley Jr. in terms last week when we talked about Devontae Adams going over his receiving prop, which he did. But when we're looking at Mike Evans, and he has the highest target share on the team, and he has the highest red zone target share, which is up at 37%, like this is a spot for him simply to score. So I love Mike Evans as a player overall, but when you have this high of a target share and this high of a red zone target share, there's no reason to be not buying into these types of players. There's a funny stat to back it up, or I should say like a little trend. I don't know if you want to call it funny, but since Baker has been the quarterback at Tampa, Mike Evans has never gone more than 2 games without scoring a touchdown. So like Baker always looks to him in the red zone. That's obviously a very simple thing. But also the Jets, they're struggling to bring pressure right now. So even though the Bucs offensive line is very banged up, there is a path to Baker succeeding just because he's not under the same type of pressure that we saw the other night from the Texans front 7.
Okay. I'm down for it. I actually like it a lot. I know that what did chat? You guys got it. Minus 250s. Come on. What number did you say that you got? Oh, I actually have it here on the graphic.
Mike Evans is plus 155. I think they're talking about Derrick Henry touchdown.
No, I know. They're talking minus 250 anytime touchdown props as insane people.
Yeah. I do not.
Do you believe in any kind of anytime touchdown parlays since you have done like the hit props before?
Not really. I was trying to think of like, is there a comparison to the NFL for that type of thing? But Derrick Henry was what last week against the Browns? Minus 185, minus 190. I don't know off the top of my head, and he didn't score. So touchdowns are variable, and going to 2 things that are variable, some in same capacity hits are, but I just don't like it. Like there are ways to go about it. You'd have to play first TD. If you think the Ravens win, then it's a Ravens money line and Henry SGP. But we saw that last week where 40 plus points from the Ravens and he doesn't score, but they come away with the win. So I just don't like minus odds on TDs really at all.
Yeah, I don't either. Any other sides this NFL weekend for props? Any trends? Anything that you'll be targeting? I know it's hard on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it is. So there's not a lot of stuff out. It depends on how much you want to buy into. I don't know if you want to call it coach speak or quarterback speak, but there's a quote earlier today that Aaron Rodgers is saying that they want to get Warren more involved in the offense. He said something along the lines of like, oh, every time Warren touches the ball, something good happens. Get him involved in the passing game. We saw Achane have some real success last week against the Pats defense. So if the Steelers could do even a portion of that, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. When it comes to the Packers, I just don't know what to make of their receiving room right now just because they're dealing with so many injuries. And, Reed had the broken clavicle or whatever it is, and he's out. The Browns were great last week against Derrick Henry in the rushing game. So you think this would be a spot with their receiver room downgraded. I still think going to someone like Tucker Kraft and the Packers would be absolutely awesome. And then it really has to be a big Bijan Robinson game. Like it has to be 100 plus combined yards for him to get the Falcons, get their first win of the season, stop messing around, get him the ball, get him into the end zone. And then as I was talking about the other day with the Commanders and the Raiders, at least not from a prop perspective, but from a side perspective, this is a terrible spot for the Raiders. And I don't know why the NFL allows this kind of stuff, but the Commanders played on Thursday night, which means they were home on Friday, and they had been resting. The Raiders played on Monday night, but as I said the other day, this is the latest possible spot because it wasn't a normal Monday night 7 p.m. local time start, or I should say 5 p.m. local start. It's not 8 p.m. Eastern. They played on the second night of a doubleheader. Doubleheader Monday Night Football, and now we're traveling east to play in the 1 p.m. window. So you have a team when the Commanders coming off of extra rest playing a team on the shortest possible rest. And yes, we know that Daniels is going to be playing, but if the Commanders can't take care of business and cover a 3 against the team with a significant rest disadvantage, that is just a bad look for the Commanders.
Absolutely. I am down on the Commanders this year as a whole, but that's also right. Injuries are not working in the Commanders' favor recently, and they've got to be careful with Jaden Daniels. You mentioned Devon Achane, who is playing tomorrow night. It's Dolphins-Bills. Line already moved, minus 12.5 Bills at home to minus 11.5. Achane's receiving yard number is 40.5. For a running back to have a number that high, and I think it's like 98.5 rushing and receiving. He's got great history against the Bills. The Bills are without Matt Milano and Ed Oliver.
Right.
is Achane the reason or the way to take advantage, or is there someone else in Miami that can take advantage of those injuries?
It's really tough because, like, the way they used Achane with the passing game, it's almost an extension of their run game. Like, they're just like these short little quick passes. They don't even let them develop. They're not like real screenplays. They're just like really quick passes. I've been looking at these lines since they came out. I got to be honest, there's nothing that I love. There's nothing that stands out to me. Push comes to shove, I'm going to be backing the Bills just because I have to pick them for a weekly pick'em pool. But there's no reason I need to be trusting the Dolphins in any way. Like, if they can't take care of business at home, they're failing in multiple phases of the game. If the Dolphins lose and they get blown out by 20 plus points, which is very possible, like the Bills winning this game 35-17, 35-4, like some crazy. I don't think Mike McDaniel, I don't think he has a job come Friday. Like, I think it's just they're cooked. So if they don't win this or keep it close, the Dolphins are dead, blow it up, trade everyone. It's a mess. So point being is, looking at these props, I think they're all super spot on. Like, I can make a case for Khalil Shakir. I can make a case for Keon Coleman. I can make a case for Josh Palmer, but I just don't love it because one player or two players are going to fall because, we're going to see James Cook have a big game. Would I be interested in potentially taking unders on Josh Allen rushing because he's now dealing with the face mask because of the broken nose or whatever it was? Sure. But there's nothing that I love. It's just one of these games that I think is really tough.
Especially with the line moving against the Bills. The Bills are the public darling. I don't know how anyone is laying 11.5, 12.5 with Buffalo after the couple of weeks they just had. Baltimore on the road at a divisional rival with the Jets, and now you're on a short week against another divisional rival, Miami. The Bills do scare me this week, but again, it's a large spread. So anything, like, if it's going to be a blowout, you've got to think of props in one way.
Yeah.
But if it's close because the line's moving against the Bills, who's the public favorite, then, like, we've got to look at these Miami overs.
We do. I would say if you do think the Bills cover, James Cook getting 15, 16 carries, that would be a spot to look. Daniel in the chat is saying Cook anytime touchdown. I don't go to minus odds on touchdowns, as we were just talking about. Like, minus 175 is crazy, especially for James Cook when we know that Josh Allen regularly takes those away at the goal line. So to see Josh Allen with the rushing touchdown, Josh Allen with the passing touchdown, Ray Davis come in and take a touchdown away just because that happens, it's 21 points, add in 2 field goals, and all of a sudden they're up to 27. They win the game 27 or 30-17. And Cook has a great game, maybe in yardage, but just simply doesn't find his way to the end zone. So if you want to buy into Miami covering, it's probably because that they're going to be putting up yards, and it has to be Tua, and I think it has to be in the air because we've seen at least some teams, at least in the first 2 weeks of small sample size, move the ball against the Bills in the air.
Mm-hmm. But now you're going to see, without Ed Oliver, defensive tackle, linebacker Matt Milano, I'm curious if that does cater to the Dolphins' offensive play calling, which is those short dump off passes. And like, now it's kind of like, I understand why Achane's number is 40.5. No, Matt Milano is huge for that. No, Ed Oliver is huge for that. Especially you look at the last few years, Achane has run for a ton against the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
And it's almost like Buffalo's saying, okay, let's tighten up the passing game and just let the Dolphins run on us. I don't know. Like, I'm very torn on this whole game tomorrow. And I'm just trying to find the best way when you're without your star linebacker and your star defensive tackle. What is the best way? Is it to a completions? Like, he's going to have to throw.
He is. Like, I'm almost thinking, is there just an alternate way? Like, I don't want to back Tua over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I don't like that. His yards are okay. A part of me doesn't mind longest pass at 34.5. And that could come via a screen. Like, that could come via an Achane screen. So that's okay. And that's it as of now. Like, I probably won't have any props in this game just because I think it's super spot on. Plus the spread is just out of control.
How much do you know about this Tyreek Hill streak? How Buffalo has been really good at limiting him?
Yeah. So some of that is in large part due to a lot of the games the Dolphins have played at Buffalo have come later in the season. One of those games against Buffalo was 2 years ago, was the wild card game. Skylar Thompson was the quarterback. 1 p.m. starting. It was a Saturday game. So, like, you kind of got to sift through it and be like, okay, warm weather teams, when they've played in Buffalo later in the year, like if there's any time for the Dolphins to play in Buffalo, it's in September. So good for them for this situation. But later in the season, they've always struggled. Some of those games he didn't have Tua. So you have to actually dig through it and be like, okay, when do we actually get
right? Because Tua's the reason. Like you look at those stats in Tua in these cold weather games, he never does well under 50 degrees.
Yeah.
So if that's your quarterback's issue, it's going to be a wide receiver issue.
True. So you would have to go through a game by game and actually get the sample size of like, we have Tua playing and good weather. It's not late in the season. And then look at it and be like, okay, did something change? Because the Bills have changed up their secondary over the past few years. And I would be okay with going to, I would play an alt on Tyreek before I played the over on 64. I'd rather go up to him at 80 rather than laying minus 114. I'd rather take a smaller unit, take the shot at 80 plus, than go to just 64. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but at least I'm going for plus money.
At least you're going for some value in a market that
is volatile.
It seems like everyone's kind of caught on to this Tyreek Hill news.
Yeah.
People just have to dig deeper. That's why I always like people say, and I've gotten hired at jobs before because people said, well, we feel like your analysis sounds authentic. I said, yes, because I go game by game. I never go through, okay, the averages. No, it's the average of going game by game when Tua's in a warmer weather situation. That's when you go game. Like that's when you average together those kinds of games. But without that, Tom's right. You have to look at who the quarterback was and you have to look at how cold it was.
Yeah. And this can go for anything. Like that's why I don't prefer trends, especially in the NFL or really across the board. I don't just blindly bet trends. I think there's too much noise in that, and you can get a little bit more specific on a game by game basis, which I think you really should be doing for everything.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got Major League Baseball, and Mark in the chat is going to be very happy about this. You actually like the Blue Jays on the money line tonight. Yeah. The Blue Jays are leading the American League East, obviously. My poor Yankees are just, but the Blue Jays are on the road at the Tampa Bay Rays. Kevin Gausman on the mound for the Jays, minus 130. How come you're backing Gausman on the road?
This is, as I talked about before, it's like not only just backing one pitcher. It's like, again, it's the totality of the Blue Jays. I just think they are the better team overall. There is some rain in the forecast, which, could alter things, especially if they get delayed and then Gausman maybe doesn't play or whatever, what have you. So take note of that. Ian Seymour is on the mound for the Rays. He's off to a pretty good start, but he also has a very small sample size. And we're also dealing with an extreme hitter's park, and he still has a 40% fly ball rate. So, the strikeouts can get going for him at times. But again, with the power that the Blue Jays have in their lineup, even without Bo Bichette right now, if the weather comes into play and Seymour isn't there, I will take a bad Rays bullpen going up against this Blue Jays lineup. And we're getting it at a good price. So the Blue Jays are just a better team overall. Throwing a pitch that I think is due for some regression with 40% fly ball rate is just not sustainable, especially in this type of park. I think they get it done, and minus 130 is a great line. If this was at home, I think it'd be closer to 175, 180 if Gausman was on the mound.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to play the game where teams don't care. It doesn't matter anymore, except today. Yeah. I thought today we would hit the over on Martin Perez K's because the Orioles got eliminated yesterday and they strike out a lot against lefties. And it looked like the Orioles gave a crap today. Like, what the hell? What the heck?
I will say, what was it? Late last week sometime, Skeens went 5 innings with 64 pitches. It wasn't his most recent start. It was like the start before that. I think it was 64, 74 pitches in 5 innings, something like that. I'm like, all right, we're at the end of the season. And if you're looking to back Skeens, and now he's only going to 64, 74 pitches, whatever it was, I don't know off the top of my head, but like that is a wild thing to be not getting 90-plus pitches out of your star pitcher.
Well, it's always these players that they're trying to save for next year. Yeah. We don't want to hurt them. Like, I kind of understand.
Oh, I understand it from a team perspective, but from betting on it, if you're betting on you're just blindly taking scheme strikeouts or outs or first 5, like you have to understand that this is changing in the final 2 weeks of the season in the last 13, 14 days of September.
Oh, absolutely. And people have to be careful of that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of these pitchers, even going into the playoffs, teams that might know that they are in the playoffs already may be pulling starters early. So just to rest them.
All possible. And it's something that you have to read into It's not you every day. Like you got to find a quote by the manager saying something that, oh, we're gonna scale back, we're gonna do this, that, the other thing. But teams that are in the race, I think I would hope that they operate rationally.
Tom Vecchio, thank you as always for joining the show. You're the absolute best. Good luck to those bets, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Tom, you are awesome. Hold on, producer problems. Hold on. I'm having a mess on StreamYard. My computer, they always tell you not to update your software on your computer. I do it every time because I am crazy. Like, I'm just like, I want the up-to-date version. I want my computer to be perfect. And every time I update, I end up with like a massive amount of tech issues for a few days. No one cares, but I do. Anyway, this next guest, I hope I say his name right. I pray I say his name right because I really love this guest, and apparently I haven't spoken to him in like 3 years. And I don't know how that happened because we worked together a bunch a few years ago, and he's really talented, really smart. It's the first time that he's coming on the Prop Queen pod. Everybody give it up for Gilles Gallant. Did I do it right?
We were so close. Ariel. All right, so I wanted to bring this up because I find a lot of the time when they see my name, they see the ES, they get so like just completely turned out. They're like, okay, this has to be a hard S, right? So this is actually a really easy. It's Gilles. The ES is actually very silent. And yeah, I know, crazy, right?
Wait,
like,
say your name.
Gilles. So it'd be like Jillian, but like Jill. But instead, you throw a little French stank on it at the beginning, Gilles, like the way you would say Jacques, and you got my name.
So it's just Gilles.
Gilles.
Gilles is Gilles.
Gilles. Yeah.
Gilles.
Yeah.
Gilles Gallant.
Crazy. The correct. Yeah.
Okay. He said we're going to call him G, but it's Gilles Gallant for everybody that doesn't know, because he has a full name, but we're going to go with G. The same way people come up to me and say Prop Queen, because I think Prop Queen's easier to remember than Ariel for some reason.
Well, yeah, it'd be kind of weird. I feel like if somebody came up to me and called me G-Dog 5000, I feel like that would be a little weird, especially if it was like an informal meeting, like on the street. But yeah, like again, like you're nothing new. Like this is something that's been going on pretty much my entire life, Ariel. So honestly, like if you mess it up, I'm not even like there's 0 times that I'm ever offended.
Honestly, I kind of like G-Dog 5000.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you create a username back in like 2017, thinking that you're funny, and then you get a little popular, and they're like, "You got to keep that name now." And I'm like, "Oh shit."
Do people know? Like, is that a thing? People know your Twitter handle?
Well, like I would say more online presence than anything, but yeah, like I mean, I'm based in Canada here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, way on the East Coast, so we do have quite a few Action Network fans across, but I have yet to run into one in my hometown.
Oh, well, I'm a big fan. And for anyone that doesn't know, G is a huge anytime touchdown bettor. And it's a market that I don't really touch. And I should have touched it a little bit more when I was doing my Splash Sports contest for anytime touchdown scorers. Because I lost in my own contest very early on, in fact. It was very embarrassing. Before we get into your anytime touchdown props for pretty much tomorrow through the weekend,
sure.
How do you go through this process in a market that has so much value, but people also tend to think like, oh, running back minus 175. It's been going on in the chat all day. We're talking minus 175s, minus 200s. And I'm like, guys, stop it.
Well, I'm a little different than a lot of people because for transparency's sake, like I've been betting on anytime touchdown props since like 2018. So I started kind of creating content around it, like around 2019, 2020, and ended up getting a little popular on social media. But when I first started, it was a lot of the same thing of what we see a lot today, which is more of looking at box scores, red zone targets, all that stuff. And that's all well and good. I'm not saying that that's information isn't important, but as I've evolved in how I approach this market, generally what I do now is I focus way less on what an offensive player can do and more about what a defense can stop. Because a lot of the time, like if I say, not to pick on Tom, but like if I say Mike Evans is awesome, he's going to score a touchdown. It's like, okay, that's great. But like, how does he fare against that defense? Do they play a lot of man coverage? They actually do. How does he fare against man coverage? He actually crushes man coverage. And even though he hasn't had many snaps against man coverage yet this season. So that's kind of the way I more approach it. I more look at how defenses, what they can do. Can they stop stuff? Then, of course, we're looking at implied team totals. And then we cross-reference that with the odds to make sure that we're getting some value on that, because I think Tom put it spot on. Like minus odds touchdown scores, just especially if you're single betting them, is just not the right way to go about it.
Absolutely not. You do have some plays for Thursday Night Football coming up tomorrow. And sorry, I produce my own show, so there's always technical difficulties. Achan, I can't believe that you see this at plus 130. Josh Palmer, underrated name, some value there at plus 375. Go through your thought process on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing that I would say with Achan is it is chalky, especially for the type of plays that I usually do, because usually I'm trying to look for things that are most likely like plus 200 or better. But in this offense, especially in this matchup, it's really difficult to find trust beyond Achan, especially from a Tyreek Hill perspective, or even Jalen Waddle, who was my initial instinct around like plus 220, because the Buffalo Bills secondary isn't as bad, I guess, as it's being made out to be, or at least the way it was looking maybe in the latter parts of last season. Like you look against Baltimore, they weren't really able to get much going on the passing game. It was the run game that they were more effective against the Bills. And then in week 2, same thing. The Jets couldn't get anything going. They were completely shut down on third down. Justin Fields, even his replacement, like they could not get the ball moving down the field. So with Devon Achan, part of the reason why we want to bet on him is because he's essentially like a third wide receiver out there, because he leads the team right now as a running back in targets per route run.
I said I couldn't believe that his receiving yard prop is 40 and a half.
Well, it's the thing is about with Achan is that he can break off those big runs, and you know that he's going to probably see 3 to 4 targets. And that's coming off of 2 receiving touchdowns already this season and 6 last year. And then when you actually just look at the full scope of his career, because when he first came into the league, he scored like 3 touchdowns a game over a 3-game stretch. But once that kind of evened out and he was more a fixture in the offense, he's scored a touchdown now, Ariel, in 18 of 30 regular season games. So if you're just doing implied odds based on that, you're getting better than a coin flip on that front. Then also against the Bills, he's scored in all 4 career games against them being huge road dogs. I think right now, if you wanted to take anybody, it's got to be Devon Achan on the Dolphins side, just because the trust factor just isn't really there with anybody else. I would say I would maybe consider Malik Washington if you're looking at like anything like over 5-1, or maybe even if you wanted to throw a dart on like Alec Ingold, like the fullback at like 33-1 or something. But Devon Achan, I think that's the only guy we can really trust right now on that Dolphins side.
How about Josh Palmer?
Well, Josh Palmer, he hasn't done anything yet this year, because really the Bills, they haven't really done much on a passing front. Like when they, what was funny was that in the week 1 matchup, when Keon Coleman caught that touchdown, that pass was intended for Josh Palmer and it got tipped and then Keon caught it. But so part of the reason why I wanted Palmer here is because this Dolphins secondary, they haven't been able to stop the deep ball. They were last in defensive DVOA against the deep ball last year. They're still 31st this year, and also 31st in defensive DVOA versus the pass. They're going to be also missing some starters in the secondaries. Both the Bills and the Dolphins will likely be doing that. So for me, Palmer, he's going to be playing on all 2 wide receiver sets. He leads the team in ADOT. Keon Coleman, I think, has the best matchup, but he's around like plus 180. So just given the fact that we have Palmer's snap rate, his route participation, the matchup defensively, the touchdown odds for Palmer should probably be closer to what Keon Coleman has. Like it should probably be both around like plus 240 to plus 250. But because we're seeing such a huge discrepancy between Palmer and Keon Coleman, I'm just going to take the one with the larger odds.
I love betting somebody on the Bills, not Keon Coleman. I feel like a lot of people are high on him. Not to say I know everything. When you do look at Keon Coleman's primetime numbers, when you look at his home numbers, they're not as good as a regular Sunday on the road. Just saying.
Well, it's also difficult, too, to get behind the passing game when it comes to the Bills. Obviously, Josh Allen is an amazing quarterback, but even James Cook, you're seeing his touchdown odds, minus 150 or higher. You're seeing Josh Allen at minus odds. They know where their bread is buttered. They love to run the ball, and they love to run it down teams' throats. So that's kind of why we're getting a little bit of those inflated odds on Palmer, as opposed to Keon Coleman, who is still around the plus 180 range.
looking at the rest of the slate coming up this weekend, you've got like a couple in a few different games. So we'll start with this game, Dontavian Wicks, David Njoku. I feel like Njoku is going to be similar to your Josh Palmer cap, where it's only like any given moment where we've got the Njoku game coming. Joe Flacco loves his tight ends. How come this week could be the week?
Yeah, so I guess before we get started, I just wanted to let people know that like on Action Network, every Sunday morning, I release my anytime touchdown preview for every game every week. So make sure to check that out. I'll make sure to post that.
And let me tell you guys, and I tell the audience this all the time, I don't bring on guests who I wouldn't tell myself. And at first, when I met you for the first time virtually, you've never met in real life.
It's like 2021, I want to say.
Around then, I said, I'm not a believer because I don't believe in this market. I feel like this market, anytime touchdown, is nearly impossible to handicap. And then I started watching your stuff and tailing it. I couldn't believe. I was like, damn, this guy's got the market. He knows. So G's got it down.
Well, the one thing too about it is just it's evolved, right? Like back, like there were the edges that we used to have at that time in 2021 and 22. You could just kind of use the box scores and do that. But I found what's happening now is that a lot of that information, a lot of people, it's very public. That obviously means that the sports books know it too, and they'll bake that into the odds. So what I would say is that right now, I'm going to break down why I like Dontavian Wicks and David Njoku from the Packers-Brown matchup, and I'll explain to you just a little bit more about how it goes a little bit deeper than just, box score kind of stuff. So Wicks will start off at plus 325. The big thing about Dontavian Wicks, and this is more about the Browns defense, the Browns, very tough against the run, number one in man coverage rate. They exclusively run man coverage, and of all receivers on the Packers side right now, it's not Romeo Doubs, it's not Tucker Kraft, it's Dontavian Wicks who actually leads the Packers in target share through 2 games versus man coverage. And the other thing too, week 1, he just had such a bad. They don't even really need to use him in week 1, but he saw his target rate increase in week 2 against that Commanders defense, which also played a lot of man coverage. He had an end zone target, so Dontavian Wicks should probably be, especially with Jaden Reed out for the foreseeable future, it should probably be somewhere around the plus 270 to plus 280 range. So for myself, anything over plus 300 is solid value for me for Dontavian Wicks. But David Njoku, part of this isn't a he's due factor, even though he is. But part of the reason why I wanted to take David Njoku and really just players on the Browns who are going to be more set up for quick passing is because that offensive line for the Browns, they're not protecting Joe Flacco well enough, and he is not going to have that kind of time to throw those deep passes down the seam to Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy. I think you're going to see a lot more screen passes, seam passes, like quick seam passes up the middle. But with Njoku, again, the pendulum has kind of swung way too far now because in week 1, he was around plus 250. Then they boosted it up to plus 280 in week 2. Now we're all the way up to plus like 380 I'm seeing right now in the market for him. And he has led the Brown in end zone targets in each of the last 2 seasons. You brought up that time with Joe Flacco. It was like a career year for him. And then the Packers, their defense is tough. They're obviously going to get a ton of pressure now with Micah Parsons on this defense, but they're very good against the run, and they play cover 2 and zone at a top 5 rate. And David Njoku's his targets per route run, they go up huge when facing both zone and cover 2. Then, of course, you could just look through the first 2 weeks against who the Packers have played. Sam Laporta led the team in receiving in week 1 for the Lions against this defense. Zach Ertz, same thing, caught a touchdown in week 2. So if you're going to target somebody against this Packers defense, I think it has to be over the middle. And I think David Njoku right now is the best price at plus 380.
You've got Saints Seahawks, Juwan Johnson, Cooper Kupp. I feel like people, when they see the Saints pop up on the board, they just look away. Or look away from the Saints in general. I know they'll fade the Saints. How come you don't mind taking an anytime touchdown prop with the Saints?
Well, it's a lot of the same thing like with Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is not a good deep ball thrower. Like in comparison to say like what we saw like with Derek Carr last year. So Juwan Johnson, part of the reason why I'm going with him, I bet him last week. Hit that touchdown. I'm going to go right back to him because he is actually one of the few tight ends in the NFL that has played over 90% of snaps in both of his games. He leads the team in red zone targets. The Seahawks, the touchdowns that they have given up, the 3 touchdowns have all been inside the 10-yard line. George Kittle, George Tongas, DK Metcalf, all within inside the 10-yard line. Which kind of lends itself more to Juwan Johnson, who's got a lower ADOT. He doesn't really run a far route. Like basically his yards per route run are lower than say somebody like Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed. So that being said, the defense that they're going to be facing, the Seahawks, they play a lot more cover 4 and cover 6. And when they play that actually lends itself very well to somebody like Juwan Johnson. And even though Spencer Rattler has the ability to throw the deep ball, I just cannot trust him in that spot to do that. So in my opinion, I think Juwan Johnson is the best value right now in that game.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my StreamYard just totally froze. Okay, now we're back. I kept trying to put myself back in the screen and it just wasn't working. So anyway, producer Ariel problems. So Juwan Johnson plus 325, Cooper Kupp plus 220. Feel like we're waiting for his breakout game.
Yeah, this one is like it's anti-narrative because like we throw around the term like, oh, he's washed like so much now in football. Like if you have like one
about D-Hop too.
Yeah, and he's looked, I mean, he only needs one reception a game to make it effective anyway. But you really saw in week 2, they were because in week 1 against the Niners, they played so well in coverage. Against the Seahawks, they just could not get anything going. Even though Cooper Kupp led the team in snaps played, they had no connection. In week 2, you started to see that connection come a little bit back, 9 targets. And the thing that I like about Cooper Kupp is that we're getting around plus 220 in odds, whereas Jackson Smith-Njigba is around plus 110. Now, there's a reason why JSN is at that price because he just gets force-fed like a shit ton of targets every game. And the issue, though, is that once they get there, they either tend to start to look, down the line, maybe AJ Barner, to me, I just think that at this point, especially when you're going to be seeing a lot of zone defense, which the Saints have pivoted to under Kellen Moore, because when they had Dennis Allen over the previous few years and Marcus Lattimore, they tended to play a way more man coverage. This year, they're playing zone. So Cooper Kupp has essentially done way better against zone, at least in his last few years. And at plus 220, I think this is kind of the price range that I'd be looking at. Anything over plus 200 for me right now is showing value for Cooper Kupp.
I know it's only 15 minutes. Sorry, we're going over. You could go through these real quickly.
All right, where are we at? All right, let me look at the screen here. Okay. We are on now Falcons, Panthers. Okay. All right. I can do that. All right.
Okay. Your messages, and you gave me this long list. I threw them in. You've got 3 from the Falcons Panthers game, 2 from Raiders Commanders.
Yeah. The Falcons Panthers game, part of the Panthers approach of how I looked at that was more take Renfro, Jatavian Sanders, and put like a half unit on each, just because given what we've seen with this Panthers offense. So let me find my notes here. Here's what I got for Drake London. Drake London is probably the chalkiest pick I'm going to give outside of Devon Achane, obviously. But the reason why we want,
you can have a few.
Yeah, I know. I like to mix them in. So Drake London, for me, I feel like I don't have to sell him as much. He's a bona fide wide receiver 1, 3 end zone targets,
especially with
2
Darnell
games.
Mooney kind of like just getting back off injury.
Yeah, and I mean, Mooney still saw 2 end zone targets in week 2, but now we're seeing his odds closer to what we saw with London, and I just think that they're completely different wide receivers. And Carolina, one of the things they like to play is a lot of cover 3. And when you play cover 3 against the Falcons, that just leads to all these passes to Drake London. He leads the team in yards per route run, targets per route run against cover 3. And even last year when they played against the Panthers, which they played a little bit of the similar defense under Dave Canales, 16 catches and 3 touchdowns in 2 games against this Panthers defense. So for me on the Falcons side, it's like, all right, what are your options? You take Kyle Pitts to finally break out. Darnell Mooney, who is good, but is still coming off of a shoulder injury. So I think Drake London, you just have to like set it and forget it and don't overcomplicate it. But on the Panthers side, this is where we get complicated because you're not going to have AJ Terrell for that Falcons defense. That means that you would think that Ted McMillan would probably be the guy that you would want with the Panthers, but then that means you have to trust Bryce Young. And I don't trust Bryce Young at all. And the one thing that I like though, is that when he panics, he has dump offs. So like last year, Adam Thielen was his possession receiver, safety blanket. Well, Hunter Renfrow in week 2 kind of took over that role. Like he had 2 touchdowns as a result. I think the other thing too, why I don't want to bet too much on what we're doing with Panthers touchdowns is because I feel like week 2, we talk about the overreaction of week 1 to week 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still overreaction to be had because I think a lot of people will look at that Panthers box score and be like, wow, they kept it close. It's like, no. The Cardinals completely screwed that game. They should have won by over 20 points. That game had no business being that close. And so if I'm just not super confident in Panthers touchdown scores. So if you are going to bet them, I feel like you should sprinkle on long shots, or if you're going to put a full unit on somebody, spread it out amongst the guys who are more in the slot, because the Falcons, even though AJ Terrell isn't playing, that they completely shut down all outside threats right now. Like even Emeka Egbuka, who scored those 2 touchdowns, that was coming out of the slot. That wasn't out wide like where Mike Evans or like other X receivers will line up. So for me, Hunter Renfrow is probably who I lean to a little bit more. The only reason why I threw in Jatavian Sanders is just because he gets targeted way more versus zone coverage than man coverage. So it was just more of like, okay, they're both the same odds. I'll put a half unit on each and hope that I win 2 units.
I love any kind of tight end prop. See, wide receivers, it's hard for me. There are so many. You could get the handicap completely right, and it could go to the other receiver who just so happens to, like, there's so many on the field that you could get the cap right, but it's going to go to some random ass wide receiver that gets some random touchdown, but ran the same route that you expected. You know, the same thing with Josh Palmer, like you said. Like, you could have had a Josh Palmer anytime touchdown, and some weird thing happens. Tight ends, to me, I'm more willing to bet tight end anytime touchdowns because there's a good handicap to, okay, there's 1 or 2 tight ends on a team. Most likely there's one that gets most of the end zone targets. If a defense stinks against the tight end, then you've got a really nice equation for an anytime touchdown.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of offenses employ the more like 11 and 12 personnel as well with the 2 tight ends.
Totally.
Like, which is weird because you would think like a team like the Buffalo Bills, who have both like Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, that they would run that like way more, but they're actually like bottom 5 in the league on that. So it's kind of interesting to see how different teams do that. Like, for example, if the Panthers do it, they're probably running Jatavian Sanders and Tommy Tremble, and honestly, neither of them are like great blockers. So that's why.
On the other hand, when Isaiah Likely comes back, that'll be nice.
Yeah. Well, Isaiah Likely is like one of my favorite touchdown props to bet if he's around the plus 350 to plus 400 range, because what sportsbooks always do, at least they've done it in the last 2 years, is they'll just completely shade Mark Andrews down to like plus 180. And not to say that Andrews can't score a touchdown, but when Likely is almost as efficient as a red zone threat, it just makes more sense to want to take somebody with the better odds, or the higher odds, I should say.
Why should we look at Zach Ertz then this week?
All right. So Ertz, again, I wouldn't call this a chalky play, but when I do the analysis, it feels chalky. So I'll just say it that way, just because the matchup
3-1. That's not bad.
Well, it's 285, which is why, or 275 rather. So it kind of just surprises me. The reason why we're getting those kind of odds is because Marcus Mariota is starting. And
True.
I don't know when the last time you watched Marcus Mariota play. He played 2 games last year, and he didn't really have to do much. He let kind of the running offense take control, Brian Robinson. But now he didn't complete a downfield pass in those 2 games for more than 30 yards. I think that's important to note because that's just not Marcus Mariota's game. Very similar to some of the other reasoning, like where you're just going to see short, quick passes. So I just also playing against the Raiders. The Raiders play zone at the highest rate in the NFL through 2 weeks, a cover 3 rate of over 50%. They basically eliminate any deep targets. So Marcus Mariota, I think, is going to have to keep it very short. So Zach Ertz, that's who you want, who has the shortest ADOT on the team and does take advantage usually of zone defenses. And he's the only commander that has a touchdown versus zone so far this year. And if we just look at last year as well, Marcus Mariota, both games that he played and when he filled in for Jaden Daniels, Zach Ertz scored in both games. So I think the main thing that I would say is if you wanted to take Deebo Samuel in this game as well, who's also very effective against zone, also has a low ADOT, is going to have those quick throws to him, I wouldn't be against it. But just the fact that Zach Ertz, you're getting around plus 280. John Bates isn't much of a threat. Isn't much of a threat. Zach Ertz is the guy that you want if you're looking for an end zone target.
Gilles Gallant. Did I do that right?
Yes, you did it great.
Gilles Gallant. I have to make a voice note so I don't F this up the next time that we do a show together. I absolutely love having you on. Your insights are incredible. Where can everyone, I know you mentioned it already, for the people, we just got another 500 people on the show. Where can people find your work on Sundays?
All right, so here's the deal. So Sundays, I host a show on actionnetwork.com, Action Network YouTube called Action Playbook Live. We just launched a new tool called Playbook. So where you can do that is basically if you see anybody putting a bet on Twitter or X, you can tag Playbook underneath of it. It'll make a quick slip for you where you can tail that bet. Also, I've got an Anytime Touchdown podcast, basically called The Touchdown Show on the Action Network podcast. That's going to be with myself, Sean Kerner, and Chris Raybon. That comes out on Friday mornings. And then, of course, we got a lot of other touchdown shenanigans all the rest of the weekend. I've got a 180 challenge touchdown parlay. I've got primetime games. I'm going to probably be doing some interception bets. So, yeah, just follow me at GDawg5000. So GDAWG 5000. That's on X and also on the Action app. And whenever I post something and publish something, I will post it there as well.
G-Dog, my guy. I absolutely love this segment. I can't wait to post all these clips to social because you are freaking awesome. Thanks again, and good luck tonight, tomorrow, this weekend on all those props.
Great to see you, Ariel. Talk again soon.
Great to see you. He is the best. I'm telling you guys, I hate that market. I would only tail G. Like, I think that he is so smart. His insights, he's one of the first people that when I went on with, did what I do, looks at the defenses. People say, oh, but look at the trend. Tyreek Hill, bad against the Bills. Well, actually, look at how the defenses do. Look at this, look at that. Like, everyone just looks at the offensive player. We got to look at defenses in every sport. NBA, it's how we dominate. NFL, you've got to look at the defense, look at schemes, look at play calling, look at potential. There's a lot in the NFL, but baseball too. Look at, like, it's not baseball, I say with strikeout props. It's not just about the pitcher. It's about the lineup that they're facing. We need to do this. Before I dive into the rest of today's baseball and tomorrow's Thursday night football slate, I want to give a shout out because Lewis Creech said that he's at the Nationals-Braves game wearing PQ merch. Lewis, you better send pics. Tag it on social media. I will reshare it. I am so excited that you are wearing your PQ merch tonight. That is so freaking awesome to see. And everyone else, when he does post it, and anyone else, I know I sent a few of you guys in the chat some merch. When you guys get it, post it to social, tag me on X, tag me on Instagram, wherever you are. I will reshare it, and I will make sure that other people get some swag too. Remember, you could get some swag. Let me see where this is. StreamYard has not been my friend today. Everything is very slow. Where are we? Right here. So, a few things here. Speaking of, I couldn't send you a tweet. I tried to for a while. You mean you couldn't send me a DM or a tweet? JMain34. DM or tweet. Don't forget about this giveaway for props.cash. If you join props.cash using promo code PropQueen, 50% off your first month of the first month. So from that point on for a month, you get it for 50% off, which is like $9. And you could potentially get a free jersey of your choice. But when props.cash tells me who signs up using Prop Queen, then you are also able to, like, I could see who, using props.cash, I could see who signed up. So if you sign up for props.cash using promo code Prop Queen, then I will also potentially send some of you guys some merch. So we've got hats, we've got water bottles. So if you sign up for props.cash using promo code Prop Queen, and I get the email list from the props.cash guys, you not only could potentially win a free jersey of your choice, but I will also send some of you guys some water bottles and hats from the Prop Queen brand. Pretty cool. And it also says PQ. So don't worry about wearing something that says Queen. It says PQ. It's just the PQ logo. So you could just tell people. I don't have golf polos yet, but also, I do sell merch on the website at thepropqueen.com. There is some merch on there from some sweatshirts, some t-shirts. I could look up some golf polos that I could make. I've been not so great at like adding to it, but my mom made some merch as well. So if you want free merch, you can use promo code PropQueen on props.cash. You get that 50% off, and you could also potentially get some free merch. But also, if you go to the website, thepropqueen.com. I do have merch up there for sale, so you could definitely take a look at all of that. We've got some pitcher props for tonight. I've got a couple of props that stood out to me for tomorrow, but I agree with Tom. It's a really tough game to handicap for Thursday Night Football. I'll start with the pitcher props for tonight. We haven't talked enough of that yet. That was yesterday. That's my bad. Pitcher props for tonight. Where are we? Why is this? Okay, there we go. Whew. So, pitcher props for tonight. Where is? Okay, only 2. So starting with, I had 2 earlier today. So 2 tonight. Mets lefty David Peterson. Oh wait, hold on. Let me tweet. I have to tweet out the show. I have to tweet out Prop Queen Edges coming up now. When I tweet out the show, more people tune in. It's the beauty of it. Prop Queen Edges and MLB and an early look at NFL for tomorrow now. Okay. David Peterson for the Mets tonight, under 4.5 strikeouts. The Mets are getting the Padres. Peterson's gone under 4.5 strikeouts in 3 of 4 outings against teams with low K rates. In San Diego last year, Peterson, just 2 strikeouts. Lefties, 28 unders, 17 overs when facing the Padres, averaging about 4 strikeouts a start. They're one of the lower K rate teams. David Peterson, under against San Diego. Brandon Woodruff, over 7.5 Ks. So I'm usually not a big fan of high K numbers. Woodruff just hasn't faced a high K rate team yet this year. He's gone over in 3 of 5 at home, plus 4 of the last 5 starters to face the Angels have had 10 or more strikeouts. So Brandon Woodruff, over 7.5 Ks. Thursday Night Football, some early looks for tomorrow. Starting with Dalton Kincaid, over 29.5 receiving yards. So he's gone over. He's like the primetime guy in Buffalo. Kincaid has gone over 29.5 receiving yards in 4 of 6 primetime games last year, averaging just under 33 receiving yards a game. He went over Kincaid in 3 straight games against Miami. He averaged 44 yards per game in the last 2 years against the Dolphins. Miami allowed the 8th most receptions per game to tight ends last year. They allowed the 11th most this year at about 6 per game. Kincaid is the primetime tight end. We are going over on Kincaid receiving yards. If you want to look at receptions, you can, but I think it was a little too juiced for me. Bills wide receiver Keon Coleman, under 43.5 receiving yards. I alluded to this a little bit with our guests today. So Coleman went under 43.5 receiving yards in 6 of 8 home games last year, averaging 34 receiving yards a game. Coleman averaged 36 receiving yards a game last year overall. In prime time, Coleman went under in 5 of 6, averaging just 20 receiving yards per game. In prime time, Khalil Shakir was the primetime guy, not Keon Coleman. Miami allowed the 5th least receiving yards per game to wide receivers last year. They allowed the 3rd least overall this year so far to wide receivers. So I am not looking for Keon Coleman. I am not looking for a wide receiver in that game because the one thing that stood out about the Miami D is that they've actually been pretty good against wide receivers. Now, granted, and this could be the case in this game, there is a chance that the game gets so out of hand because it's a double-digit spread that the Bills don't have to throw the ball anymore. And they will just run the football because they have such a lead. So just remember that if you do like the Bills in this spot. Keon Coleman, I have no interest in. He is not as good in primetime as Khalil Shakir. As for my Royal Lock of the day, let's get to Royal Lock. On today, I don't know why this isn't working. Okay, StreamYard is not working today. I don't know if the Royal Lock stinger played today. Okay, whatever. Pitcher prop is my Royal Lock of the day. Brandon Woodruff over 7.5 Ks. It has been 4 of the last 5 to face the Angels have gone 10 or more strikeouts. Woodruff is at home tonight. He's getting a high K rate team. He hasn't faced a high K rate team yet. The Angels, they are one of the highest K rate teams in baseball this year. We are going over Brandon Woodruff, 7.5 strikeouts. It's going to be his big night of the season. No show tomorrow because I am traveling to see my younger brother who is in college. So we will be traveling. I will have a show Friday to talk all things NFL. So don't worry about that. We will definitely have you football covered. So I got a little bit of TNF in there for tonight between G, me, Tom Vecchio. We talk some TNF. I will repost some of this stuff for tomorrow in case you forget. You can always tune into the YouTube at Prop Queen Sports. Subscribe, like. It is super helpful, and it's where I put everything. I also break up all the segments for all the different guests. So if there's a specific guest that you want to see a segment on that you missed, you could just go to the YouTube. Right after this show, I end up posting everything segmented into the YouTube. So everything's kind of organized in case you missed any parts of it. YouTube, Prop Queen Sports. Give it a follow. You could also follow along on the newsletter at thepropqueen.com. You could subscribe to the newsletter there. You could get all this info first thing in the morning if you're a premium subscriber. You can also get this info after the show. It gets sent after the show in case you missed any information. If you just want it to the inbox and you don't want to watch videos, thepropqueen.com. You could subscribe. And remember, sign up for props.cash. Go to Pikkit Sports too. Pikkit is free. Go to Pikkit and you could track bets there. You see what I bet there. So that's everyone. I think I covered it all. I know it's a lot, but I appreciate you all. This isn't about doing everything I say. This is about just providing you guys with so many different services that you pick what works for you. So if watching the show works for you to learn things, watch the show. If you want things to your inbox that helps you, subscribe to the newsletter. If you want to use some of the stuff like I use on props.cash to see all the trends and who does well in prime time, who does well on Sunday, who does well away, who does well at home, you want averages against, props.cash is your spot. You want to track your bets, you want to track my bets, you want to track other people's bets, you want to see where the best numbers are, you want to line track, you want to see how lines move, use Pikkit Sports. These are all just different ways to help you guys. It's not to sell you anything. It's really just me being here to totally help you guys win and beat the books, because that is the number one priority, is for us to win and beat the books. I love you all. I will see you all Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the Prop Queen Pod. Good luck with your bets.